Good morning.
Morning.
So I think I might be one of the few people in America that's actually really excited about this whole NAR settlement. And we talked about this on the morning call, and I'll say this again. Why should we all be excited, not just me? And if you're on the morning call, you can't answer. Just unmute yourself.
I'll give an answer
Okay.
because we've been talking about it for a long time with you.
Yes, 2 years to be exact, but who's counting?
Yeah.
Well, look, here's the reality. People that are afraid of things, right? Fear is false evidence appearing real. Anxiety is created by the fear of the unknown. So if an agent in New York City had shared on Monday mornings at 8 o'clock, they kind of have like this call that people talk about open houses. And I think it was Julie Hoffman who shared, she says the call was just filled with craziness and fear. And as FDR said, the only thing you have to fear is fear itself. The fortunate part for all of us is every single thing that you humanly need to be prepared and ahead of what is coming next, you already have. You could literally log into the Chirag Shah Coaching portal and everything you need already existed. There's not if we made nothing more for you, and we are making more, all of the stuff you need exists. So there are three things that this really comes down to. And then I'm going to share the context of this client experience today in the context of the world we're going to live in. Is that okay for everybody? You need to know what your value proposition is. And it's not these sayings of, I'm your advocate, I hold your hand, I get you to the finish line, I get you top dollar. Like nobody's paying tens of thousands of dollars for that. I hate to be the bearer of bad news. So what is your value proposition? Then it's articulating your value proposition through the eyes of their goals and expectations. And the third thing is providing a luxury client experience is what we're going to talk about today. This back of the napkin haphazard transactions cannot happen anymore. The reality is we all have to look in the mirror and realize if you pay a hotel $500 a night and they did some of the things that you guys do in your transactions, and I'm guilty of this myself when I sold real estate, you'd be very unhappy, right? If you had to follow up with the hotel for stuff that they said they're going to do for you for information and bookings and all kinds of stuff, would you be happy? The answer is no, right? So the good news is if you spent 18 minutes a day for the entire year on any one discipline, this is according to Jesse Itzler's research, you'll spend 100 hours at the end of the year and you'll be in like the top, I think 1%, he says, in that particular discipline. Well, there's at least 100 days till this lawsuit settlement comes to life. So all of you need to spend 1 hour a day, 7 days a week, because here's the reality. You spend it on these, most of us spend them on our cell phone or these stupid social platforms, which is not doing anything for your life and brain really that positive. And you all need to be experts at your business, what you do, how you talk about it, and the experience that somebody has. Yes or no? Is that something 100% in your control? Yeah. The reality is we should have all done this a long time ago. And this is not going to be popular sentiment, but it's true. Not all agents should get paid the same amount of money. Could you imagine that in other service industries, everyone got paid the same amount of money, regardless of skill, experience, knowledge, resources, technology, brand, team? It's crazy. How many people have done a real estate deal where they've had to do the work on the listing side for the buyer's agent because they're incompetent? Right. Jeff, I know your answer is yes, too. I see you, and so like this is going to end. And I think this is good for the industry because the reality is if any of your clients own a single item of luxury, whether that's a car, whether that's a handbag, whether it's the way that they travel, the clothes that they wear, they see a distinct difference between brand value and service. Think about it. The Holiday Inn and the Ritz-Carlton, they're both hotel rooms. Why would you pay $500 for one hotel room when you could go to another one for $109? It's the brand they have, the experience they have, and what you perceive as the value based on the experience you want to have. So let's talk about the client experience in selling a home. So who wants to be the one person that says, how would you define client experience? I don't know why, but my gut tells me to call on Sarah Weaver.
Great. How do I define client experience? A predictable experience with me right out of the gate. So understanding how your home gets launched, when we'll be communicating, the platforms that I'll see it on, not having them call me with questions. I'm always a day or two ahead of them.
Want to answer? Jeff Lang, what would you say? How would you define client experience? You got to unmute yourself, buddy. Perfect.
Yeah, I would say it would be a big part of it is providing an experience that's above and beyond what the client expects.
So experience in his mind is exceeding expectations. Peggy, how do you define client experience?
Hello?
Yep, we hear you.
I was distracted. And to be honest, I wasn't listening.
How do you
I'm-
define client experience? And get out of your emails.
No, it wasn't. It's something, but whatever. How would I define client experience?
Mhm.
Hmm, that's a challenge.
So ready? There it is. Thank you. You got that. That's a good answer. So here's the thing. If this is challenging for you, will you ever have clarity around it? Yes or no? So do you know what an experience is based off of? In its simplest form, interactions and engagements. It's the words we say, the materials we share, how things are communicated, how we listen, how, as Jeff said, exceed their expectations, how Sarah said, how we make it predictable. But the most important thing to understand about client experiences is one simple fact. It is created through interactions and engagements. So experience comes down to how does somebody experience you, right? So if you look at our coaching, how do you experience it, right? Like, what are your interactions and engagements with us? It's interactive sessions like this. It's the stuff that we have on our platform. It's how we make it easy for you, how you're able to use it, the value that you associate to having that, right? Think about this in an apples to apples comparison. If you signed up for an entire year, you pay $3,600. There are 5 to 6 sessions that you can attend a week and 1,700 resources on a portal that you could literally ask about any aspect of your business, right? Now that's $3,500. If you sell $1 million house, someone's paying you $20,000, $25,000, $30,000. How do you mirror those experiences, right? Like, look at the choices that people make in hiring a coaching company. Well, then start thinking about your services, your client experience, right? So your client experience starts the moment you open your mouth. People can listen to listen, listen to take notes, or listen to respond. So the first experience starts off by listening to listen, right? That's why the first part of the experience is at whole med C. When you're just listening to listen and you don't start solving their problems and everything else, how does that start somebody's experience? It makes it all about them, right? Then the next part of the experience is the email that you follow up with preliminary information that speaks to the exact experience they want to have. Now, think about luxury. Luxury is all for you. Now, I believe in this concept that all of us will provide called curated luxury. This is a Shrugism, right? Curated luxury is organically anticipating your client's needs and having everything happen before they ever have to ask. That is a great experience. Now, do you know what the difference is between being somebody's client and being somebody's partner? Hopefully, like if you're in a relationship or marriage, partners do things together. Clients are always 1 or 2 steps behind. They're being spoken to, not spoken with. So now we send the email, right? Then when we get to their house, what is the next part of the experience? Saying, hey, Peggy, before we walk around the house, sit down and have a discussion, I just want to repeat back what I listened to that's most important to you. And, we find commonly that when people sleep on things a few nights, they might have a few things to add. Would that be okay? Great. Your motivation, what's making this the right time to move is blank. What you're most excited about happening directly result is blank. Your expectations of an agent you partner with is blank. Your past disappointments with agents and other service providers are blank that you want to avoid this time around. And ultimately, these are your concerns. Did I make sure I heard everything correctly? Is there anything else you want to add? What experience does that create for the person there? It's all about them, right? And if you bump this back to the beginning, first words out of your mouth for anyone should be, Peggy, would it be okay if I asked you a few really important questions so we could focus our time together solely speaking about the things that are most important to you? It's about them. We all need to understand that we need to become salespeople. And a salesperson is nothing more than two things: a person that gets paid only when they sell things, and a person that knows how to have effective conversations. That's it. So now we're in somebody's home, right? The next experience, part of the client experience, is what? The home tour. Does anyone need a recap right now? Hit yes in the chat on what is a good home tour for an agent and what's a bad home tour. Hit yes if you do, and if no one hits yes, I'm just gonna keep going. You guys are all 100% clear on how to tour people around the house? I don't believe you. So who drives the tour? Now put this in the chat. Do you drive the tour or does the seller drive the tour? It's so interesting. I can see people that the amount of time that they've been here is based the answer they have. You drive the tour. I'll tell you why. If the seller drives the tour, you do understand their objective in the tour, right? Number one, they're going to share with great pride and emotion, because you have to remember everything in a person's house, down to even the hoarder house, is the exact way that they like it. So they don't see anything wrong with it, right? The second thing is they're literally selling you on why their house is worth whatever number they have in their imagination. And we walk around and oh, this is so nice. This is amazing. Like, you did such a good job. Buyers are going to love this. And then you sit down for discussing how you're going to position their home on the market, and they have this price and they have this price. And how does that make them feel? What kind of experience is that? A bad one, right? No one wants to hire a non-enthusiastic salesperson. No one wants someone that's going to be argumentative, combative to their point of view and perspective. Right? Remember those 7 keys of effective conversation? Those could also be the 7 keys to having a great client experience. It's always the client's choice. The person asking the questions controls the conversations. Everything has to be in the benefit of the client, always be in agreement with the client, no telling, no explaining, no being combative, right? You can't be attached to the outcome. And number 7, yes and no, just because they want to do something crazy doesn't mean you have to compromise your values and what you're worth. But if you follow those 6 things, will you always win? 100%. So when we're touring the people around the house, right? What we want to say to them is, you take a quick scan of the place, right? You can always tell if they're nice updates and bathrooms and kitchens and custom stuff and whatever it is. So I would say, Ross, it's really clear that some of the amazing updates, like I see you put a lot of work into the kitchen and this and everything else, blah, blah, blah. Highlight a couple of things, stroke their ego, make them feel good, right? You could say, would it be okay if I asked you a few really important questions as we walked around the house, so that we can use the information to effectively position your home on the market for the right buyer? Isn't that very different than what everyone else does? 100%. So this part of their experience is where you get them subconsciously to love you. because you're going to talk about all the things they love and are special. So the first question I'm going to do is I walk around the house, and then they're going to say, well, do you have any questions? Can we share with you? I'm going to say, no, I'm just going to look at the house through the eyes of the buyer, and I'm just going to ask you some questions, and I'm going to take some notes so that we can use this for the marketing and positioning of your home. Okay, great. Do you notice now the tour has more of a purpose? I'm going to say what specifically, right? Part of using the word specifically, it prompts somebody's brain to give you an actual answer. What specifically did you love about this home the most that made you buy it? They're going to start telling you about it, right? This is a nice way to get them to share the things that they love about the house. They get to feel good, but you also aren't like setting yourself up for failure when you get into pricing. Peggy and I did this live role play together when she came in for a coaching session. Then the next thing I asked was like, you know, what is your favorite room in the house and why? Like, what are the experiences you had there? So she talked about her living room and the fireplace and sitting around with her kids and reading books and all these other things, right? Then another question that you could ask is, you know, what makes this home a great location for you and potentially other people? They're going to start sharing what that is, right? What are some of your favorite memories in the home and why, right? They're going to start telling you, like, we had this amazing wraparound deck. Peggy, sound familiar? And we would have these parties and things like that. And one, you're starting to get an idea, because in marketing, you don't want to write stupid stuff like stately colonial relocated on tree line street. Like, no one wakes up and says, hey, honey, let's take all the money we saved for the last 10 years to buy that stately colonial on a tree line street that says, you know, I have an old home on a street that has bugs, right? Lots of trees equal lots of bugs, right? Like, this stuff is crazy. We all need to like kind of graduate into like a better perspective, right? There's Chat GPT that can tell you how to do all this stuff. You don't even need to figure it out anymore. So then another question I'm going to ask is, what's one thing about your house you love that you had no idea about till you lived here, right? And I always use my home that I'm renting now as an example. When I got there, I liked the ceilings, I liked the speakers, I like, you know, I'm a huge person of like, you need 10-foot ceilings everywhere, and other places that have really high ceilings, is those ceilings really like enhance the space, right? I like the idea that they had all built-in speakers, and that there was like, my daughter asked me, she goes, Daddy, when we get another home one day, because you say like you can work hard and have anything you want in life, like, can I have a room that has a bathroom? And I literally got this room because it had a bathroom in it for her. And the reality is that she never uses that bathroom, not even one time, and she uses mine every day, but that's beyond the fact, right? So what I love about my house that I never realized is the closet space. So both myself and my girlfriend are very much into clothing and shoes, like big time, right? There are 4 double door closets with shelves on top in the main area of the room that she occupies. And I have a walk-in closet probably the size of my conference room in width, with built-in everything, and I have the whole thing filled. I had no idea that there was that much space. But I also now know that when I move, I have to literally measure the rod space. If not, these houses could look nice, but my clothes will never fit in there. Her clothes will never fit in there, right? So you get people to start telling you like these hidden benefits. So if you walked around in those things, and then the other question you could always ask are, you know, what are some of the recent updates you've done in the last 3 years that you're most proud of, right? You notice how we said most proud of? Now, at the end of this, hit yes or no. Will you be 100% in rapport with your clients? I would believe so. Is this a very different client experience than everyone else is doing in real estate? 100%. And the only reason I know this is we made this experience for you from scratch, right? Like, I didn't get these ideas from someone else. These are our own ideas. And so let's just pause here for a minute, right? We have a whole hour together. There's so much we can do in an hour. Now, here's the interesting thing. Let's go back to the beginning before we sit down and go through pricing and marketing and launching and all these other things that are part of the experience. The first question we asked is, the takeaway is, we want to solely speak about the things that are most important to you. Then they get an email that speaks to how you're going to do all the things that are most important to them. Then when you get there, you're going to repeat all the things that are most important to them, give them opportunity to join. Then you're going to walk them around the house and they're going to tell you all the things that they love about their house, their favorite memory, their favorite room, their experiences they have. If the people had kids, they're going back down memory lane and they don't realize it, but they're going to say, you know what, Lisa, I just feel comfortable with you. Because this isn't the stuff that real estate agents are normally talking about, because they're not thinking about it this way. This is a people business. Your home is your life in many ways, right? A home is where you build memories. A community is where your life happens, right? So all your greatest memories, all the choices of what you want to see and experience every day in your life, when you go to sleep at night and you wake up in the morning, is your home. But if you look at what happens in the negative client experience, let's think about it like this. You ask somebody to, you call up an agent, you tell them you're considering selling your home. This is what a bad client experience is and what most people do. They're like, they see blood in the water like a shark. I can do this and I can do this and I can do this. So they literally go there, overwhelm you with information, share with you all the things that they're going to do. Then they're going to go through with price, and that's going to be a whole different conversation. They're just going to tell you all this stuff. I have a Compass Technology and Concierge, and I have this agent network, and we have this interactive CMA thing, and here are the homes on your market, and here's my, like, that's just, it's a lot, right? And the person's going there and saying, wait, like, this is why I'm moving. This is what I'm excited about. This is what I hope would happen with an agent. This is where things have gone bad. So like, this is what's going to affect my present decision. And this is what my concerns are and what keeps me up at night. That's what a seller's thinking about. And then you go in there and you're like, oh, we can change this and this and this and this. So essentially what you're doing is going in there and telling them all the way that they live is wrong. And then we're going to go in there and paint their houses, tell them to take all their pictures down, declutter the rooms. So all the things they like for the convenient everyday living are gone. Take the magnets off the fridge, some light renovation. And all of a sudden, before they know it, they're not even living in their own home anymore. It feels like they're in a hotel. Then we're going to have this whole haphazard process of getting the house on the market. Don't even get me started with that, of how it's done in piecemeal, unorganized. It doesn't even have a calendar that's provided to people, but yet they're paying commissions of 50, 60, 70, $100,000+. Then the house goes on the market and they have to have a bunch of strangers in there and listen to what they have to say. Then we're going to have a broker open house, and because they're brokers, these are godlike people, and everyone's going to criticize them and give them feedback. Welcome to what it's like selling your home. It sucks. So do you think that the two experiences that we're talking about are distinctly different? Yes or no? Yep. I don't know. Some days you wake up and you just kind of feel like you're on a roll. For me, I feel like with all of you today, it's one of those days. So now, after we walk around the house, they're going to want to discuss the stuff, right? Like what they talked about. So there are three things people really care about when selling the home that dictate their experience: price, marketing, communication. Every single thing comes down to that. So you'll sit down and ask them if they had a chance to review the materials. You'll want to call them before and make sure that they've had a chance to improve their materials. Great, Wayne. How do we address improvements? I suggest everyone write this question down. And this is a good question to ask in the beginning, right? There are two schools of thought when it comes to positioning your home on the market to maximize your equity. Would it be okay if I shared them with you and you can share with me which one works best for you? Great. The first school of thought says, hey, Chirag, you know, since COVID, my home has appreciated more in value than I've ever expected. And I don't want to go through anything crazy. Moving is really stressful as it is. Like, can you just make this simple? But I don't want to make any big changes, and I'll maximize my equity in the current condition that it's in. That's one school of thought. The second school of thought is, hey, the market's like blank. I would love the opportunity to see different options based on renovations, decluttering, or different suggestions you have, and what opportunities of additional equity I could get out of my home as a result. Which one works best for you? And again, Wayne, we could do 1 and 2, and then you could pick which one works best for you. Just because you pick option 2 doesn't mean that's the direction to go. Is that a different way of asking someone this question? it's nice to have all your own stuff, right? Like this is the important part for all of us. This is all stuff for just you. These are not things that, unless they're part of this coaching community, they're not going to do this. And here's my last caveat in just something about practicing. You know, over the years, I've always believed in collaboration over competition, right? The person you compete with is yourself, not other people. Now, that could sound contradictory, hypocritically, or any other part, but here's what I'm going to tell you. You need to practice this for it to work. And if the only person you can practice with is someone in your office, but they're my competitors, Chirag, why would I want to do that with them? Well, they could meet with you in person and you make a simple agreement that says, Cherish, like, let's work on this together. We're in the same coaching program. We can meet up every day and do this. And let's just make an agreement that our collaboration is more important than anything else. So if by some weird freak chance we ever get the same client, we just tell the client that we work together and just go broke. How often are you really going to pitch the same clients? Like this much? There are only 2 agents I've ever met in my life, and they both happen to be here in Westport, Connecticut, that always go on the same pitches. Outside of that, never really, right? But if you don't practice this, how can you share it with people? So the second part of the question is, there's another school of thought that says, you know, my home is my most valuable asset. I would love to see different options based on renovations or upgrades or whatever suggestions you have on what additional equity I can unlock in my home as a result. Sound good? So now we get to the part of the experience of the marketing plan. And we know we'll all have our iPad out, and like the great part of the experience is showing them what you do based off the marketing calendar. And I would say, Ross, would it be okay if I shared with you the exact examples of what the marketing and story will be of your home in your own context with other ones, so you feel 100% comfortable and confident with the plan that we have to maximize the equity of your home? What do you think they're going to say? Yes. Do you know why it's really important to do that? Because they're going to hold the iPad. So you're going to say, hey, let's look at the calendar, right? When you look at this, what comes out at you? And even before you do that, you're going to say, hey, before we discuss, you know, how we're going to market your home to the most buyers and ultimately maximize your equity, there are a couple different phases in this that are really important, right? We have a pre-launch strategy, right? Which, if you think about movie trailers or when Tesla launches a product, what do? They market it, they advertise it, they build a line of buyers around the corner. So when they have the launch, there's a lot of excitement and momentum that goes into that. And they're going to say, does that make sense? They're going to say, yeah. And we'd love to do the same thing from your home. There it is, Cherish. There's the frame. Right? That's how you frame it. Wayne, just drop your question in the chat. So essentially, you'll go through the whole plan with them, and then you're going to go through the communication plan. I would say, Cherish, it's really important to us that we get you the exact information that you are looking for in the time frame that works best for you. And then you go through the communication plan. We have examples of how you frame the conversation, everything else, right? And then you go through positioning your home on the market. And then you go, hey, we'd like to align on one simple concept prior to doing it. Are there things that you can control, things that I can control, things that no one can control? And you go through that script. Isn't clarity for all parties a better client experience? Yes or no? Bingo. So teams and sales volume, I would just put that in a listing book. How many people here have a team? So there should be a page on your team that says a collaborative experience. It should have pictures of all your team members and exactly what they do. Ooh, Catherine Morpheus. I love seeing all these people there. I like that. Hello, everybody. This is great. Are we all, now I'm going to pause before I get into pricing, getting the listing signed, following up, and the rest of the experience. Everyone drop a takeaway that they had so far. What is your aha moment? And the reason I ask this is your aha moment will become someone else's aha. Clarity is key, clarity. Practical, always center the client. I love the questions about to build rapport, remembering to ask what room they love the most. Client experience is everything. That I need to tour the home differently. Guiding the tour, giving the seller choice and how they want to market with or without updates. Listening, really listening, and practice is fluid. Home tour, how to address and frame improvements. Being in charge of the tour, home tour. Sellers care more about three things: price, marketing, communications, being in charge during the pitch, leading the tour. Practice makes perfect practice. Yep. Ian Wolf, my man. How are you? So, all right, we're going to go through positioning the home. Now, this is a part where you can really make somebody feel like shit. Excuse my language. And this is also the part that you'll find out people are batshit crazy. So you're going to want to share the market with them, right? Melissa Rubin, where are you here? When I'm just gonna mute Melissa because this was like a big aha moment. When Melissa and I were working together, and Melissa's probably one of the first like 15 or 20 people I've been working with individually. I think Melissa, we probably worked together, what, for 3 years at this point? On 4. And Melissa used to do what I called defend the market. She'd be like, well, this comp is like this and this like this. And when you do that, what happens to you? Like, what do the clients do to you?
They think that you're not working for them.
And are they nice?
Not so much. No.
So you know what our learning was? Once you defend something, you own it and you become the punching bag.
Oh, the other thing too is that when I'm working with other agents and they tell me, well, your offer is X, but the market is X, and they're defending the market. And it's so easy to say, I understand completely, but this client feels the value is there and there's no emotional attachment to the outcome at all.
Yeah. Another thing when presenting comps and the people on the other side are crazy, you can present the comps that you, hey, Melissa, here is the offer. This might be different than what you expected. Address the elephant in the room. Here are the comps that my clients use to come up to this number. And please share this with your client as well. We are looking to collaborate in the process. And if you have different comps that you'd like us to factor into your decision, myself and my client are open to looking at them, and then we'll have a discussion about them. Right? There's another little ninja trick there. And their clients can be like, well, why didn't you tell me about this? Like, the buyer has a point. But here's the other thing, right? Once you own the market, you defend it, you now are the punching bag and you become the enemy. That's why the you control, I control, no one controls is really important. And it is a partnership of what you can control, Chelsea, and what I can control is your agent working against what no one can control. Does that make sense? Right? Here's another $1 million line, Sophie Langhorn. Can either one of us control what other buyers are willing to pay for homes? No. Can either one of us control what your neighbors are willing to accept for homes? No. Great. Those are your words, not mine. So when they complain about it, be like, yeah, it's terrible what your neighbors are willing to accept for homes and what the buyers are willing to pay. What do you think we should do? And now it becomes a collaborative conversation. Right? So when you share the market, you want to ask them the question, right? There are 3 main factors: price, more days on market, list price to sales price, and what a home sold for. This will be able to tell you, like, you know, how long the market is and how long the home's been there. And it's an indicator of competition, right? So if the days on market go up, buyers have some more negotiability. If it stays the same, it's where the market is. If it goes down, the market becomes more competitive. List price to sales price, what a seller wanted versus what other buyers are willing to pay. And ultimately homes in similar conditions, what they're finally trading at, like what the final decision was. And you go through and you ask them the questions, right? So how many days? What's the list price, sales price? Did this home have any updates? What stands out about it? How's it different from your home? Let them do all the talking. And at the end of it, if you're looking at If you were looking at this objectively through the eyes of the buyer, within this range, you give them a range, where would you price your home and why? Right? And then when you go through the objections, you go through them in a thoughtful way. You gotta love people that want renovated home money for unrenovated homes. Right? So then the first thing you do is part of the client experience says, you know, I brought and bring a yellow notepad because it's called a legal notepad. So people think on a yellow notepad, they write down really important stuff, right? And from there, you'll go on and tell them, you know, since it's what you can control and I can control, working against no control, let's make a list of what specifically you did in the home and how much it is so that I can justify the price to buyers and agents when they come to your home. They're gonna say, great. And you frame that by saying, so what I hear you saying, Cherish, is that since you feel that we have the best marketing, we might be able to set a record price in your neighborhood. They're gonna be like, yeah, exactly. Great. Walk around and do the exercise. And at the end of the exercise, I would say, all right, would it be equitable? I don't like the word fair, but I'll use it in here because everyone else seems to like this word. Would it be fair to say if we gave you credit for all of these updates, we'd have to give a buyer credit to update your home to the conditions that the other home sold for at this price? Like, oh, yeah. So how much would this cost? And you go through that. So based on that, where do you think we should position your home on the market? Have them have an answer, and you give them an answer. And then the other question is, you're going to be a buyer, right? And this is where it's really helpful if you had their information on when they're buying, because there's always an outlier of an unrenovated home that wants renovated money. So if you were buying a house next in Florida, would you buy one of these listings that's not renovated or hasn't been updated or is not in the same condition, whatever words you want to choose, for the same amount of money that you could get this house? And if you were going to buy the other house, why would you pay, the same amount of money and then have to sink 200 grand into it? And then, now this is creating the experience. We didn't argue, we didn't explain, we weren't combative, we went through the process, and that's luxury, making a person feel good during the process. So now you get all your paperwork signed, you close, and everything else like that. And now the next email that goes out is the next steps email. You need to outline everything that's going to happen next, right? And when you go through your marketing plan, you want to reassure them look, we have a calendar here, but the important thing is we will customize this calendar in a Google Calendar and share it with you. So we believe in being partners so that two people do things together. Is that again different in the client experience? Now, for all the people that are all bugged out about the whole NAR settlement, if you went through this entire process, do you think a person does not see value in what you offer?
What happened?
Yes or no? If you do this process, I don't foresee a challenge. And always there are discounters, people that just call them bottom feeders in the sense that they just want to take all your money away. Then and again, look, someone that's frugal, that doesn't like spending money on nice stuff, will go to the Ritz-Carlton and question, well, I can go here for $100. What's different? What's different? What's this? What's this? Why should I pay this? You tell those people, go back there. Go there. Why are you even, your time's really valuable. Claudia, if that's how you feel, what specifically had you have this conversation with me today? Again, acknowledge them. So they get a next steps email. You clearly outline what you told them, what you're going to do. And this is where it all begins. So when you're coordinating, decluttering, a stager, an organizer, a painter, a landscaper, the check-ins, you want to sit down on a call with them and do everything together. So look, I would go through the same exercise for what Amy said, like the seller wants to share, and you're going to say, based on what other buyers are willing to pay for homes and what your neighbors are willing to accept for homes, this is the range I would suggest you pricing your house in. And here's why. And then ask them the question. It works. So then you go through and you make a whole calendar, organize everything at once. And by the way, This is why having an actual launch plan. So we had a client the other day that had a challenge and that she was really beating herself up about for just a simple reason that for whatever reason, the seller wanted their property on the market in like 3 days. Like, what time does that really give to anybody? And if you're selling your most valuable asset, I don't know, unless the bank is coming to foreclose your home, and this is like circa early 2000s, why are you in such a rush? What is a week going to make a difference? And again, that's a sign of a bad client. If they can't conceptually understand that, and now you tell people, look, you're hiring us for the results that we have. Yeah, well, we can't change the process then. That's like changing a recipe and wanting the food to taste the same. Make sense? And then you organize this, you put this all into a calendar. And then going forward, the other thing is you describe to them, how many people hit yes or no, describe how feedback works to a seller. All right, someone who hit yes, unmute themselves. I want to know what you tell your clients.
And it's important that you understand, their perspective and what they see. And often it's been great to get, when I have clients that feel their home is worth, $500,000 more than it really is, based on the wallpaper or the paint or whatever. And my clients have said, oh, this is the best. And then someone comes in and they're saying, oh my gosh, they need to declutter. They need to get rid of this and this and this. Then you just share it. And it's not from my perspective, it's from their perspective. It's golden. And I say, these aren't my words. These are the agents and their clients. So I love sharing feedback.
So you need to explain to them how feedback actually works, right? And if you don't explain to them how feedback works, you're going to have a disappointment problem. And the other problem is you're going to feel like you're on demand, right? Does every
So-
agent give feedback?
I do.
You do, but does every agent give feedback?
No.
Exactly. Do the clients think every agent gives feedback? Yes. So does that become part of your experience with them? Yes. So I would say to you, Kathy, has anyone taken the time to share with you how showing feedback from buyers and agents actually work? And they're going to say no. How many people want to use this script today? And every time somebody leaves with a ring doorbell and the doorbell goes off, your phone doesn't ring for an unplanned call. What's the feedback? And this, and who wants that to end today? I do, for all of you. I'm going to put hours back in your life. I'm going to say, has anyone taken the time to share with you how this works? And they're going to say, no. And if they even say yes, like, great. Remember when you were looking for homes, right? How many homes did you generally see in the day over a weekend? Or during the week? Oh, 2, 3, 4, 5. And at the end of, while looking at the homes, what was most pressing for you? Oh, what you were looking for and everything else. Yeah, 100% agree, right? Again, these are their words, not yours. And at the end, how did you choose to spend that last 10, 15, or 30 minutes with an agent in a house? What would you guys want to discuss? The homes, the feedback, and everything. And at the end of the showings, how important was it for you to sit down and itemize feedback of suggestions that you could make for the listing agents and their clients on how they could more effectively position and sell their home? And they're going to say not at all. And you're going to say, great, most buyers are like that. So the reality is the next day we call, email, and text. We make 3 different attempts. And I want to be 100% clear. Not everyone's going to leave feedback. We have a lot of great colleagues at Compass and agents that we have relationships with in the market that do leave feedback, right? The second one is the first one is you might not get any feedback, which means people are just like you at the end of their showings. The other part is some agents do not feel comfortable taking their clients' time to have this kind of conversation that is no direct benefit to them. That is something worth acknowledging. right? Sometimes people would call me for feedback when I was an agent and I would know my clients. And if I called my clients during work and they had to stop their job to have me ask them questions about 3 to 5 different homes I saw, they'd be pissed. Like, who do you work for? And then the next one is no feedback is feedback and an offer is feedback as well. Does that make sense to everybody? So this is part of their client experience. And then in the end, it's how you give the feedback, how you have your weekly client communication call, sending them that email update, going through the number of showings they've had, the feedback for the showings that they've had, the results of your marketing, as well as any changes in the market. And if you do that, rinse and repeat through, you get to contract. Now, here is the biggest opportunity to improve the experience. You know how many little things have to happen when moving out of a house? You should sit down, have a meeting and say, hey, let's go through and build a timeline together of all the things you have to do. I'll organize them, we'll put dates. And every week when I check in, well, I just want to make sure you're sticking to your plan and that moving is a 90-day process or a 12-week process versus a 1 week, let's scramble and be overwhelmed. And any resources you need and however I best can support you, please let me know. Now that, ladies and gentlemen, is the luxury client experience. Well, as soon as the showing is, okay, so as soon as the showing ends, if you're showing the house, right, you have to tell the people, generally speaking, if you're showing the property and they just want your feedback, right? You could say, at the end of the day, I will send you the feedback in an email and we could discuss it on our call. And you could just say this, you know, it's really important that we align on the 4 main drivers of making the largest financial decision. Would you feel that it's how many people looked at your home, the feedback that we got, the results of our marketing and what we're getting out of it, as well as the changes in the market? They're going to say yes, 100%, Sarah, right? So then you can understand how irresponsible it would be of me to talk about one with the other 3. Because we know in the past, we've seen people make decisions based on 1 without 3, and that's not what you hire a professional for. So I'll send you the email and we can always discuss it during our call. So you have the proper context of the 3 other factors so we can make a decision as a whole. The 4 main drivers, how many showings you have, the feedback you're getting from buyers and agents, the results of your marketing, as well as updates in the market. Drum roll, please. So here's my question to you. If you're able to do this repeatedly and predictably and communicate this, do you have anything to worry about when people are asking you what you do for your commission? Nope. All right. Now, who wants to know how to talk about buyer's agent's commission with people? Or am I going to just overwhelm you with information? We don't necessarily need this today. Cherish, come on. All right. I like a good challenge. And look, the one outside reason, and this is just purely me as a person, I really might be one of the most competitive people that you could humanly meet. I think second place is the first loser, trying is not doing, and I want to win. And I want to win in competition. I don't just want to win by myself. So by the sheer nature of who I am competing for all of you. That's who I'm competing for. So I'm in this imaginary race in my head, because the only person you compete with is the person in the mirror, to make sure that everything you have is better than anything else that exists on Earth. And we are already hundreds of steps ahead of anyone. You all have the end-to-end materials, every email template, every last single thing. Like that Compass Tech video that you guys all like, we're making it for all the tools, the buyer ones and the rest of the seller ones. We're working over the next like month and a half to integrate all of our stuff into Marketing Center. It might take a few months, but it'll get there. So buyer's agent's commission. Number one, understand you have no control over this situation. None. Number two, do not ever lose a listing fighting for someone else's money. It's not the case. So we're working on a sheet that says what a buyer does in exchange for the compensation they receive. So when somebody says, Jeff, like, you know, we normally charge 5%, can't we just pay you 3% and we'll offer out no commission? You can just do both sides. You say, no. Are you know, has anyone ever shared with you exactly what a buyer's agent does in exchange for the compensation that they receive? You have a sheet. So there's several distinct options, right? And you're going to say, Jeff, I want to share the different options. And I want you to pick what you feel is best for you and your family. And regardless of what decision you make, I support you 100%. So you're going to say the first option is we can offer out no commission. Now, the thing I want you to look at is, and this is the only time I suggest bringing paper, you print out all the comps and you highlight what the buyer's agent's commission is for the next 3.5 months while it still exists. Right? Like, and the pivot is they're going to take buyer's agent's commission away and they're just going to make blanket concessions, like seller concessions, right? And you're going to say, let me ask you a question. If you were a buyer, right, and you had to pay, let's say you've agreed on the pricing of 2.5 million, right? Let's just say $1 million, and you had to pay $20,000 out of your pocket to buy this home. Would it influence your ability to go view it, knowing that? And they're going to say yes or no, whatever it is, you get an idea of where they are. The second one is you can offer a flat fee where you can offer out whether it's a blanket percentage or a dollar amount where the buyer would be responsible for whatever the difference was, right? And the one thing that you want to caveat this in saying is like, look, before we go through this, one of the things I want you to be aware is the majority of agents have a compensation agreement with their agent that they're going to be looking for the seller to pay as has been done in the last 100 years in real estate. Now, what you want to do is your choice, right? So you go through the second one. The third one is we can offer out a co-broker, in this case, a concession. And in the agent only remarks, right, that the concession can be used for closing costs, closing fees, a compensation, or whatever it is. We'll work on the language from that when I talk to a lawyer or someone I know that runs an MLS board. That's a nice part about this, I can tell you. This is bringing me back to all my days of selling real estate. This is like transactional real estate. It's full. So I love this stuff, if you can't tell. When I started in real estate, every person was an FHA buyer because that's just what I had access to. I've done every different creative deal you could think of because the majority of my clients had all this money, all this income. No, all of this income and want to buy expensive houses with 3.5% down, had no money for closing costs. So a seller concession is in every Fannie Mae or Freddie Mac guideline up to 3%. FHA allows you, I believe, up to 6% unless that's changed, right? So we'll be working with lenders and show you how to do this. So the third one is a concession or a compensation, but there's also a fourth option. Regardless of 1, 2, or 3, we could and very well expect to get offers where the buyer's agent's compensation is built into the offer. Which one would work best for you? So you know what I think is really interesting about this is that I wonder what's going to happen because all of these prices factor in two sides of commission, right? Like, is the whole market going to go down by 2%? Like, is this going to raise the market? It's not going to go down, right? Like, that's not happening. But it's something that you could also tell your clients. And that's how you have the commission conversation. And as they say in Disney, that's all, folks. That's what we have for you here today. So we have 6 minutes. Everyone stay on here because we're going to do live prospecting next. So does anyone have any questions? And then I'm going to just run to the restroom for 2 minutes and then we'll get started on prospecting and talk more about this.
Chirag, I have a question. When you speak about the 3%, seller paying the closing costs, is then the expectation that the seller pays the closing costs and the buyer pays the agent?
Well, you would just write, so they're saying that you can still, they're gonna take away buyer, from how I understand it, they're gonna take away buyer's agent's commission, but there'll be an ability to put a concession in there, right? So a concession can be used for a variety of different things. Now we just have to work on what the language is around it. But the good news is we have over 100 days to figure this out, and I will have a solution once I talk to. I have a lot of friends, like one of my good friends and mentors has built half the major MLSs in the country. So I have calls scheduled this week with her, several presidents of large MLS boards that have like 70, 80,000 members that I know personally. And I'm going to get some more thoughts from them as well. Appraisers are not going to adjust any valuations. The price of the home is based on what comps are.
Chirag,
Mm-hmm.
Sophie, I'm still confused. I hear people saying you write the concessions in the offer, but in California, you can't ask in the offer to for the aid. We have a separate form. So I'm really confused about that. How do you?
California will come out with a new form.
Yeah, I'm
I-
thinking Kathy Maringer is going to be all over this.
Yeah. And the other thing is look, like this is like if you're in real estate, right? And you'd get buyer's representation agreement signed. And from there, you'd put your commission in. So if someone offered 2% and you did 3%, you would literally write in your offer, seller to pay buyer's agent's commission of 3%, right? This is true. If you go to the ABR course, like this is how they teach it, right? So I know you have a standard form, but there is a way to work with it or work around it.
It'll be interesting to see how that comes out because I've talked to both Kathy and Janet Dorsey, and they're like, no, you can't do that. So at least in our state. So it'll be interesting.
Like if Fannie and Freddie Mac, what's interesting are national guidelines, right? I'm going to reach out to a couple loan officers and ask that. I know a couple that are based in California. Hold on. I'm going to send a message right now. How do agents build in a seller concession to the CAR approved form to make it? All right, as soon as I have an answer.
Thank you.
Listen, this is like a HUD approved closing cost. Like, so getting lenders to pay this and everything else. This is like, look, in the end of the day, there are a few things I want you to be careful of because you get inundated with information. If you're here, do not listen to, if you want to go use another system, what I'm telling you is there are lots of great coaches. People have their own perspective, which are all entitled to. But whatever you want to do is pick one recipe and cook the recipe so the food comes out tasting how you want. Do not go to piecemeal all of this stuff. Like, listen, I love agent panels, right? Like we do them. I think they're great. But listening to a bunch of people on how they run their business quantifiably does absolutely nothing besides confuse you, because what you all need is a process to follow so that you know exactly what to do, what to say, how to do it, and how to get paid, right? So there's going to be more trainings and more noise about this than anything you've ever seen in your life. People prey on fear, and there are a lot of people afraid right now. So you can all email me any of your specific questions, Chirag at Chirag Shah Coaching. Like Cherish had a great question. The nice part is like our coaches are agents, right? I sold real estate. Wendy sold real estate. We both sold brokerages, right? We have a lot of access to industry leaders and information and know real estate really well. Listening to a lot of different people just confuses you. Imagine your parents gave you a set of advice and they went to 3 other people for advice. You wouldn't know what to do. There's a such thing as asking too much. Look, here's the other thing. If compensation can be on all the brokerage websites, it's even better because then we're going to get all the traffic. But I have a feeling if they put them on the brokerage websites, the next witch hunt in the Department of Justice will be these companies. So like, look, as a company and everything, they're going to give you some information. Their goal is to make you not panic and feel comfortable. But here's the best news for all of us here. There's a $1 billion technology platform that you have access to that quantifiably makes a person's buying or selling a home experience better. So what's there to worry about? It's not like you work at like EXP or any of these other brands where it's like, well, what do you have to offer people? Well, I have this great multi-level plan of you can come under my recruiting pipeline. Like that's not what people want. People want quantifiable results. So Martha has been told by a national lender. We will have a lender on here. We will have other experts on here. I'm not worried about this because we've already done all the preparation work, right? Have you ever seen, anyone ever seen Mel Gibson Conspiracy Theory? And then at the end, he's done all this crazy stuff, but in the end, he was right. People told me that I need better things to do besides reading court transcripts. This is never going to happen. I'm a conspiracy theorist. I've lost my mind. I'm going to lose my business spending all the time. No one wants all this stuff. The list goes on and on and on. And the goal is to be delusionally optimistic, not listen to what a single person says, dream bigger, be unreasonable, and follow that unreasonable thought. Because that's how great things happen.